what do you think are some of those day-to-day responsibilities that finance and data professionals have that generative AI could be a great benefit for them?
Because of the nature of the role, finance understands how data can deliver value. They understand how to measure impact.
When you think about the generative AI trends for the next, call it 12 months, or what are some of those trends that you're seeing for finance and data professionals? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another generative AI conversation. This is going to be the closing live session that we have as part of a four-part series. We've had a chance to talk about generative AI's application around the people, around procurement, around supply chain, around the customer experience, and now we're closing it out with, I would say, is probably the best function, the finance function. Today we're going to be talking about generative AI Unleashed, transforming data into financial insights. So when you think about generative AI in terms of like some of the different functional areas I just mentioned, sales, marketing, procurement, supply chain, now we get to the conversation of having generative AI and what that actually means for finance, data, FP&A, CFO professionals. And I'm really excited here today to be joined by this esteemed panel. Vin, Kate, if you want to take some time and introduce yourself to the audience. Kate, we'll start with you.
Sure. Thanks for having me back here, Chris. Always a pleasure to be on your live show. I'm Kate Starchnyi. I'm the founder of Dedicated, which is a media company that helps data, machine learning, and AI companies reach their audience on all social media. And again, pleased to be here.
Hey, Chris, thanks again. Appreciate being back one more time. Sad that it's one more time. I'm Vin Vashista. I'm the founder of V Squared and the author From Data to Profit. V Squared's my personal consulting practice. We actually help people make money with data science, machine learning, analytics, AI. Yeah, instead of just technology, maybe a little revenue, maybe some cost savings, maybe some business impacts.
Nice.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me here. Pras Chatterjee. I'm a Senior Director of Product Marketing at SAP, focusing on planning and analysis, also CPA by nature. So love this topic and I'm really excited to discuss it with you guys.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for the panel for everybody. And I want to jump off. I know we want to get to the meat of this. So I want to jump off to the first question. And we'll start this off with you, Vin. What do you think is the biggest value add, or growth that generative finance has for finance and data professionals?
Well, I think you have to look at the workflow. And one of the things that finance really excels at is these across the business long chain workflows. And that's something data can provide insights into that nothing else really can. Generative AI sort of tacks on to that and gives you an accessibility layer. And that's the right way to think about generative AI is it's the access, interface, and orchestration layer for deeper functionality. So it's not enough to just sort of throw generative AI at a problem. There has to be something underneath it, whether that's the business's knowledge graph, whether that's applications that you're orchestrating across maybe one platform or multiple platforms. It also could be looking downfield and understanding today's picture, but also having predictive, prescriptive, and diagnostic models that help you find opportunities, resolve issues, and then measure impacts, because that's the really the big thing for everything in the business, really not just finance. It's right. Measuring outcomes, measuring impacts. Does this do anything? So generative AI is one piece of that puzzle.
Nice. Kate, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest value add, if I put on my sort of regulatory compliance experience that I had before I got way into data analytics and stuff, there was a document that came out, and I actually want the audience to take a guess as to how many pages this document was. Don't Google it. Don't ask ChatGPT. It's called the Dodd-Frank Act, and it was a lengthy document. It was in response to the 2008 financial crisis, where basically everything went wrong in the banking industry, and lots of regulatory issues were coming out. So if you're joining us here live, tell me, how many pages do you think the Dodd-Frank Act had? Just take a wild guess. And let's just say it was a lot of pages. I'll reveal the information in just a minute. It was a very lengthy document, and it required everyone in banks to really consume the information, check if the regulation applies to their size and type of organization, check all of their policies and procedures, get an understanding of how this applies to them, what policies and procedures need to be written or updated or revised or deleted. And that was a massive project. It was great for the consulting business because all the banks were like, hey, we need help. We need people to read this thing and understand this thing. And if you know banks, they don't really share information that well. So if one bank figured it out, they're not going to tell their buddy bank, hey, you can actually do this. Here's the applicability spreadsheet that you can use. So everyone was wasting so much time working on this. And okay, I see a guess came in of 100. It was 2,300 pages, depending on how you format it. But you can Google this. That's a lot of pages. I don't think I can read 2,300 pages just sitting down and reading through regulations and trying to find applicability. So I see this as a huge growth area in financial services, where you can now upload the data into ChatGPT-4, for example, and you can ask like, hey, so what are the main requirements for a company that has X number of employees and this much revenue, because there are applicability laws. And also follow up with, can you write a policy that addresses this, and procedures? And can you target specific types of people in my company and target the procedures for those specific types of people? And it will do it for you, and it won't take that long. So I think my mind is just blown. Like years ago, this would have been amazing.
Nice. Pras, what are your thoughts? Biggest value add and growth opportunity for finance and data professionals?
Yeah, so I mean, just capitalizing on what Kate said and what Vin described as well. There's obviously quite a bit that they can get at a tactical level. Obviously, it's things like accessing better data, consuming that data, making meaningful decisions on that data with the assistance of AI. But I think if you take a step back to get to that point, I think it provides now, especially for finance individuals, an excuse and a valid reason for effective finance transformation. You can't just jump to AI. You can't just move on to having a large language model and start working on it right away. You have to go through various steps. And I think this creates a process whereby you analyze the data available to you, all the data you might be able to consume, how that data applies to you as a business and what you can deliver to a business constituents. And I think more than that, what this allows for you as a finance department to do is drive finance transformation. It now allows you to change your processes. I think, often in finance, we talk about and we see finance departments that are very reactive in the sense that they work in a scheduled basis. Their plans are done at this time. Their forecasts are done at this time. And while these schedules are harnessed and in place, things are happening all around them and they're not being proactive, rather reactive to a schedule. And now I think once they exercise finance transformation and really data transformation for finance and move ahead with this, it allows them to change their overall processes and I think be a lot more proactive in terms of how they add value to their business as well as their shareholders / stakeholders.
Nice. Yeah, I love everybody's comment on this, man. And for me, like, having 20 plus years in accounting, finance, FP&A, and financial leadership, when I always think about tools, right? We're always late to the party. All my CFOs out there, all my finance accounting professionals, we're always late to the game, man. Like sales comes in, they got their, sales and marketing have really catapulted GPT-4 and these large language models and generative AI. And now when I think about finance, right? The biggest value add that we have, and I've seen countless use cases that we've had with clients that we work with here at Fresh FP&A, but also just some good friends of mine. And I'll share a great example of it. I had a good friend of mine. He's an audit manager at a mid-sized audit firm, right? I was meeting with him. We were catching up, and he's talking about leased accounting, right? ASC 842. And I'm sitting here, I'm about to doze off then, right? Pras, he's talking 842. And I'm like tilting my head back trying to stay, right? And he's telling me about all this time, energy, and effort that he spent writing this 8-page memo. Because to what Kate's point was, when you look at this accounting pronouncement, it's like a whole nother language and it's long. And unless you're geeking out and reading that when you're like having your off time, nobody's going to read the entire statement, right? So he's telling me about this and I'm seeing his pain, right? And this is an audit manager giving this memo to a client. So it's value add, right? And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, man, how much other articles or documents are out there? So I was like, hey, man, pull open your phone real quick. We're going to summarize 842 for a manufacturing company, and we're going to summarize it in 2 pages that you can copy and paste to a PDF document and get that over to him. And we actually did it. So we worked through the prompts. I was coaching him through it. It got him to what I think is the golden effort for finance. It got him to the end zone, right? It got to him to that time to score. And when we got done with it, he got the 2 pages, and I actually had it on there, and I was like, bro, what's your email? And I sent it to him on my phone, and I was like, now we can get back to talking about the college football playoffs. Now we can actually talk about something fun. But the whole crystallization of that story was, this is an audit. This is his life, right? This is what he does. And it gave sources for it. He says, Chris, this could have saved me hours amount of time, right? Because I could have spent more time focused on like customizing this wide variety of information to actually specifically my client, right? And for those finance professionals, that is the biggest use case. When you can start thinking in prompts, when you can start thinking about how to leverage the resources that are already there to get you to a point to now you're customizing it and configuring it to that unique situation, that's one of the biggest value adds. So it kind of echoes what everybody was mentioning, but that's a huge opportunity for finance and data professionals. Which gets to my next question. And Kate, we'll start with you on this one. What do you think are some of those day-to-day responsibilities that finance and data professionals have that generative AI could be a great benefit for them?
Yeah, I think it varies on a case-by-case basis, but I think if we were to start thinking about the process sort of that everyone can take today to get started in terms of addressing their responsibilities and what they have to, what they have to do so they can use AI in order to help their repetitive tasks or boring tasks, help that sort of go a little bit smoother. I think, generally starting with number one, identifying your pain points that align with what Gen AI is good for. I've seen lots of memes out there and people poking fun at ChatGPT because it's getting some questions wrong. Like, use it for what it's supposed to be used for, right? So identify your pain points that are good for Gen AI. I think then figuring out sort of what are the tools that are available, making sure you're staying on top of, ChatGPT 4 is out now, so making sure you can use the latest and greatest tools out there, DALL-E, Midjourney, if you're on the creative side. You mentioned, Chris, thinking in prompts, getting comfortable with prompting tools that are in line with what you're looking for. The only way I think that you can get good at this is get out there and try it and see what's working. If one prompt is working better than another, use that prompt, iterate on that prompt. You can talk to your friends who are using Gen AI for their business. And then sort of starting small, making sure you're not like, okay, my job here is done, I'm going to automate everything I do. No, start with the things you maybe don't like doing. Try to see if there's a way you can automate or use Gen AI to help that process. And then lastly, staying on top of trends, because I feel like it's every day I get out there and online, or yesterday I was at the AI summit in New York City. And there's just so many new things that I've never even heard of. I'm like, oh man, I could probably watch Gen AI news all day and still somehow be behind because there's so many new things coming out every single day.
Awesome. Thank you for those insights. Pras, what are your thoughts, man? How's this gonna help level finance and data professionals up from their day-to-day responsibilities?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Chris, my heart is with FP&A. And what is FP&A? Financial planning. And the part we always forget, analysis. And why do we forget analysis? Because our friends and us in FP&A, we spend way too much time on the planning piece. The tasks that we just keep repeating over and over again. I talked earlier about scheduled tasks that we do and really forgetting about the analysis. And I think what this will do is really change the profession so that, I think, there's been blogs and things written about in the past about how, finance needs to spend more time on analysis. I think this allows you to spend a lot more time on the analysis piece because there's various things you can do to automate different processes using generative AI and AI that make your life a lot easier. So you're doing a lot more value-added activities. Now, I think the first step in this is pick use cases, and it's not big bang. I think it's really about finding small use cases. Look at, as I said before, once you've gone through the step of transformation of cleansing a data or a set of data that you can trust. Putting an AI model on top of that, which is very easy these days. A lot of these things are self-service. And once you put that in, start asking questions of it, and you really use it to drive, better decisions. One simple one, for example, anomaly detection, right? Just allow it to detect variances within the constraints that you put in, so that these variances are being done, analysis are being done in real time in an automated manner, so it's notifying you in terms of when you have a spike in a, I don't know, a volume variance or rate variance or some sort of mixed capacity or something. And once you have these small wins, start building upon that and use that to drive the change within your organization.
Nice, 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 nice. Those use cases, Pras, that's really, really important. The use cases. Vin, how's this going to help, man, finance and data professionals from their day-to-day responsibilities?
Well, I think, when you talk about day to day, you want to get into tactics, you want to get into the ground level.
Exactly.
But I think pull back for a second and ask yourself, what does technology already do well? And if it's already being served well by an existing technology, don't feel like that's where you should start. That just because it's obvious, it's an opportunity that's right in front of you, that doesn't mean that's the right place to start with generative models or with any sort of data. Look at places that you've never been able to support using any existing technology, because those are the highest returning use cases. Those are the highest returning workflows. It's those new types of value creation. And what organizations like finance have the opportunity to do is show the rest of the business. You were talking about how other organizations usually lead the way, but finance is one of the most data driven. Finance is an organization that understands models and modeling. You understand a lot of what the data team is trying to get the rest of the business to see the value of. So finance can really lead the way by not just handling the obvious use cases, but revealing how models, how data, how that analysis can support really delivering value to workflows that technology could not support in the past, and delivering value in new ways. Always keep in mind that data is your competitive advantage. So step one in anything when it comes to implementing generative AI is staying close to what you have access to data about. Those workflows are going to be the easiest ones to bring any solution, whether that's data analytics, machine learning, generative AI. Look for the areas where you have the best quality data. And when I say best quality, we're talking about data with business or customer context. It could even be market context. That means that there's some sort of metadata around what is the thing that generated that data. It makes it easier for models to learn from that type of data. And so you're hearing, sort of to Pras's point, that this is not a big bang. This is an incremental transformation. So think small, start with small parts of the workflow that you've never been able to support before, and then start expanding out. And don't start with the most complex approach first. Start with sometimes bringing in third-party software, sometimes leveraging third-party or open source models. And as you build up the capabilities, as you build up sort of those muscles with data analytics and machine learning, then when it makes sense, when there's an ROI calculation there, then move on to more complex approaches. So think about what you can do small, quick, deliver value quarter to quarter. That's really what to focus on, because we've talked about a lot of great use cases, but we also need to give really everyone in the business the tools that they need and the frameworks they need to find these use cases and to discover these high value opportunities.
Nice, Vin. I love it. And I mean, Kate, you talked about trends, right? Pras, you mentioned that we got to put the A in the analysis back in there. Vin, I love your point that data is a competitive advantage, right? Like those are all like really crystal clear use cases to help finance professionals. I think the only thing I would add is, Vin, it kind of highlights what you said, right? It's a crawl, walk, run approach, right? So many times, right? Like, I work with CFOs, and I was sitting with a CFO group about 2 months ago, and we were in a room. It was after happy hour, and they really enjoyed my presentation and how I was talking about GPT-4 and a lot of the tools and how they can be applied. And we actually got to get into some details. And they were all at this table working on their computers, and they were sitting there doing stuff. And they were like, "Hey, man, we really loved your session. Would you be able to sit down with us and just kind of work through some stuff? Like we're not even at that phase where we're like crawling yet. We're still in like diapers, like not even at that point." And I said, "Okay, you want to have a framework to help guide you. I was like, I'll sit with you right now and I'll give you a 30-day plan that you can use 15 minutes a day, and it'd be guided with an exercise, a use case, and application, and you'll have a 30-day plan. Would that be advantageous for you? They'd be like, oh my God, like I would take that and be able to use it. And all I went into it, I was like, hey, you are a CFO, you're trying to learn more about GPT-4 and how to leverage. Write me a 30-day, 15-minute plan that has a description, a use case, an application that I can use every day. Make it easy for a beginner person to understand, and make this easy that I could export it to Excel, right? I literally typed that in there. We customized it a little bit, and then I copied it. I copied it in an Excel document. I was like, hey, get everybody's email and send that off. And they were sitting there and they were just like, how'd you do that? I said, the first thing you got to think about when you're leveraging these tools is you got to think in that, like, ask it what you want. Don't just ask it, give me a 30-day plan. Be as prescriptive, and like the way that you model, the way that we do a financial model, the same rigor that finance people take when we're listening to the business talk about revenue, talk about expenses, talk about cash, and we're able to translate that to a model. Okay, I know if you're talking about revenue and you're talking about something closing in Q2 based on our revenue recognition, we're gonna, we can think in that place. We got to take that same quantifiable mindset and linear processing that we do from a calculation perspective, and start thinking about that from a qualitative perspective, right? So it's challenging us to still take core frameworks, methodologies, and mindsets that we have, but leveraging it from a qualitative, from a language perspective. That's a superpower, right? So to all those finance, FP&A, accounting, and data professionals, literally use that prompt. And now you got a 30-day plan that can get you maybe to crawl, right? I think another great use case is definitely in tactical operations. So not throwing shade at my accounting partners, but this is poised for generative AI, right? Like when you think about all the policies and procedures that go into just a simple area like accounts payable, right? How you pay bills, how you process bills, how do you communicate with customers, how do you communicate to get paid? All this information, there's a lot of people that are just focused on that level of work, right? When you can say, all right, how can I write me a AP policy because I'm having cash burn issues, and write me an email communication with cadences that if they're 5 days late, I need to send this. If they're 10 days late, I need to do this. So in the tactical operations side for finance organizations, it is a poised ground frame. It's a blue ocean to go find, to what Pras mentioned, some of those use cases, those quick wins, that like Vin, that you said as well too, those quick wins to build that momentum, get that train off the track. So Kate, I want to like pivot a little bit because you talked about something in yours where you talked about trends, and I really want to get this topic. So Kate, actually let's start this with Pras. Let's start this with you. When you think about the generative AI trends for the next, call it 12 months, or what are some of those trends that you're seeing for finance and data professionals?
Yeah, so some of these trends that I'm seeing is really finance looking to generate use cases in terms of where to start and how to start it. So some of the trends I've seen are areas such as, you talked about it yourself, invoice matching, intercompany reconciliations and things like that. That's one area that can be automated completely with AI and generate results for you. And then lets you do the analysis. The other areas, for example, is really simple ones, expense management, using an expense management tool to really understand what your trends are, what your flows are, make recommendations based on your spending patterns or guidelines and things like that. And, provide, anomaly detection in that area. Other areas that we're seeing in, obviously, are the very simple ones, but are probably some of the most important ones. And budgeting and forecasting, doing, asking the systems to generate forecasts for you based on your data set, the data set you're predicting, and really help generate results based on that. So I think there's various use cases based on the different areas of finance. But I think, one of the things is that all this can come together later on once these simple use cases are defined and they proceed upon.
Nice. Yeah, budgeting, planning, getting it out there, man. Vin, what are your thoughts? Some trends that you're seeing.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a different type of trend. And what you're starting to see is finance taking over some of the transformation functions, some of the innovation function. You're seeing this at Meta, Google, Airbnb just recently did it. Last year, McDonald's put a VP of finance in charge of transformation. And the reason for that is, number one, finance is one of those organizations that just, because of the nature of the role, finance understands how data can deliver value. They understand how to measure impact, how to really do some of that experimentation. They have a strategic mindset about using data analytics, and models are part of, I mean, they have that mathematical literacy as well as that model literacy. And so that is one of the trends I'm seeing more and more clients talk about. It was, a few people 3 or 4 years ago, it was a few people saying, where does data, where does the data organization live? Where should that function be? Where should it exist in the company? And finance was one of the options that makes a lot of sense. And I think you're going to see more companies go in that direction, because finance, in this case, can be a leader. They can be an example to the rest of the business of how data analytics and machine learning transform organizations, transform workflows, and how data should be used to improve business outcomes, but how there's that critical connection where you have to understand the workflow that you're supporting. You have to really have granular visibility with the data into what you're supporting in order to do anything after that. And so it starts with gathering high quality data and making it accessible from any place in the business to any other place in the business that might need it to improve decision making, to deliver productivity improvements through automation or augmentation. So finance, really, that's the trend I'm starting to see pick up momentum. Clients are looking at finance and saying, this might be the right place for transformation to live, because it's efficient transformation. It's transformation with a focus on bottom line impacts. So I think there's a partnership emerging here, and that's one of the trends I'm seeing increasingly, is that finance has a bigger role to play in transformation, in innovation, and in getting traction for data and analytics, as well as really AI in general.
Nice, nice. I promise my ears went up because I think of true XP&A now. We're actually like there now, really actually getting that inside the business, right? Fundamentally, I may be biased, and Kay, we'll get you. I may be biased, but there's no functional area inside of a business that has more data feeding it than finance. We see
Absolutely,
everything:
yeah.
sales, marketing, operations, HR.
But now we
Kate,
can see
you
it
just
better.
said you got. Yeah, go ahead, Pras.
I was just saying, now we can see it better. That's it, pretty much.
Yep. Okay, so you were at an AI summit. Trends you talk about. What are some of those hot ones that you want to share with people?
Yeah, when I think about the future, I tend to look into my crystal ball just to just to see what sort of predictions we can make. And today, the crystal ball, and yesterday at the AI summit, I noticed that there's a lot of focus on using generative AI to continue this theme of data democratization and data literacy. So what generative AI has the capability to do, and I actually did this right before our live show, is if you upload a dashboard, not only just a chart, but an actual dashboard, picture of a dashboard into GPT-4, and ask for an explanation like, hey, what's going on here? It will explain literally every chart bit by bit of how it is interpreting that dashboard. Then you can even say, hey, write an executive summary for the board about this dashboard. And it basically, if folks are not data literate, they can't really understand charts, or if they simply just don't have the access to more information, generative AI has the capability to close some of those gaps. And another thing I'm seeing is the potential of using Gen AI for unstructured data, right? So for the longest time, we've been able to use tools and technologies to address structured data, so rows and columns. And now we can actually drop in unstructured data. For example, I took all of my reviews from Amazon and I copy pasted them. I have a book called Colorwise, which you'll see here and there. I dropped in all of the reviews, the written ones, into ChatGPT, and I said, hey, how is this book? Give me an overall star rating. And the crazy thing was that the star rating that ChatGPT came up with based on the text that was submitted it came up with the exact same star rating that Amazon had on its overall star. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I know we're getting close to time, so I'll cut it here.
I love the crystal ball like that. That's that is very very nice. I think for me one of the trends that I see just specifically in finance, right, and this is where it starts the conversation where I was like we're late to the party. I feel as though like next year it's like I think CFOs, finance, FP&A professionals have all been like I got it, I got it, I got it, I got it. Like I'm less about theory, like show me application, like show me proof of value, show me how we can how I can get out of what I call the decision cycle circle, right? Because right now when I think of the decision cycle, right, it's processes drive data, data to information, information to knowledge, knowledge to make a business decision. Right now most finance organizations, people are all part of that process, right? They start the process of getting the data from the GL, right? You customize that data to turn it into like one of your a model, right? Then you get that model, and this is where process we don't spend that time on that knowledge and decision now. This is where when you think about where generative AI in the future is like, give me that application to where I'm not in process data information, I'm directly into knowledge, right? Like give me that so now I can spend my time, energy, effort, focus, and resources on knowledge to decision. That to me is a huge trend that I think in the next 12 months, finance professionals we're hungry. We're gonna be like, hey, show me, like, let's get down to it. So hey, I want to thank everybody. Before we end, if people want to learn more about you, more about this conversation, where can people find you, Pras? Where can people connect with you, learn more about what you're doing at SAP?
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest place is come to sap.com/FPA. There's a lot of great information there, a lot of great information about AI use cases and such. And, connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to chat and continue this discussion.
Vin or Kate?
Yeah, you can find me on datascience.vin. Thank you to the French wine industry for naming a domain after me. I greatly appreciate that. Makes things easier.
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Kate Starchnyi, or dedicated.com.
Very nice, very nice. And if everybody, you can find me on LinkedIn as well, Fresh CFO, freshfpna.com. Check us out. We're helping clients all across the globe implement some of these tools and leverage it. Everybody, thank you so much for your time. But before we end, I know this is the last live of the year, right? And I just want to look at, hey, all those professionals, everybody going back and looking at this video. I wish you, I wish your family a very safe holidays. Take this time to recharge, take this time to rejuvenate. Really take this time to be with your family. We've all been going so hard this year. It has been an absolute pleasure and honor to be part of this series, to have great panel, to have great guests like this. Take care of yourself. Be safe. Let's get to 2024 and let's crush it. Thank you, everybody, for your time and enjoy the rest of your day.